coffee being spilled. So wouldn't all this be like you go to a bank that owns REOs and you say, why don't I do something for you? And you present this.
Say
right?
that again.
You go to a bank, has REOs,
Yeah.
and you offer them, this is a solution.
Right?
Wouldn't they jump on it?
I don't know. I don't know. I know this. They give a property to receivers all the time. And receivers run their properties into the ground. Most of them do. Have you ever seen a property that's been taken over by a receiver? They're terrible. They charge double the management fee and they do a terrible job. And they spend the bank's money like crazy. So if you put a good plan together, I don't know. I think it would work, especially with small regional banks.
Yeah.
I see a lot of people thinking. I just wanted to give you yet another idea of how you would do that. Yes?
So what's the criteria the bank select a receiver, receiver?
I say that one more time.
How the bank selecting the receiver? What's the criteria?
How is the bank receiving the receiver?
Selecting.
Oh, selecting. Usually someone through the bankruptcy court will basically, hold on one second here, will basically assign a property manager for that. Unfortunately, the people they assign aren't that good. I just want to change something because I want to leave you guys with one thing. They're not that good. So that's typically how receivers get put in place. They're court ordered, and bankruptcy attorneys or foreclosure attorneys assign a property manager. And there's people that specialize on that.
This would be a good way to start a company, though, as property management.
Be a great way to start a company with property management. Be a great way. I hope people are listening that are trying to read between the lines here. Yes, it'd be a great way to start a property management company. Bruno. Go ahead.
It's Wayne.
Wayne. Bruno. Wayne.
If a real estate agent found this for you, how would you handle that with the real estate agent?
They're going to have to get paid a commission, and you're going to have to find out what they want and how they want to get paid. Why not offer them a part of the deal? A little bit of the cash flow, maybe some of the appreciation side of things, maybe a little ownership.
Would they accept getting the commission once the deal goes through in 3 years?
Maybe. I don't know. It would depend upon the real estate agent, and do they need the money today? I don't know. I don't know their situation, but why not ask? Why not ask?
Is it legal for them?
Is it legal for them? Absolutely. As long as they have a license, you can receive compensation for a real estate transaction. Property management, sales, things like that, but you gotta have a license. While you guys are getting the questions, I want to drum up one thing, and it is Marcus and Milichep. I just want to show you one thing. Oh, server not found. I'm not online. Dang it. Well, maybe I can't do it here. I was just going to give you a great, could you do that? Yeah. Okay. I just want to give you guys a good resource tool to look up multifamily unit properties and research information about a market. So I'll run around with the mic. Where'd it go? Who has a question on anything that we've covered over the 5 days?
John, with the master lease, is there a balance in terms of the property? You have an owner that owns the property. You want to lease it out, and let's say there are some capital improvements that are required to get those rents to where you'd like them. Is there a certain balance that is required there to work with the owner?
Yeah, I think you negotiate that. You put that in their master lease agreement, and just like you would put things in a sales contract that you want, put that in there. That they're responsible for this, you're responsible for that. Work it out. Okay? Yes. Oh, right here.
On the tenant water metering, on the tenant water metering, you've got a main water line coming in. It's buried. It comes into the apartment building and it splits out. Where do you put the meters? And
Yeah.
That's a big job.
Yeah. I've done several complexes in sub-metering. We just
Yes.
got done with one in Charlotte, North Carolina. And Heather did the legwork on the front end. But when the company went in, they assessed the property. And in this particular property, they said, we need to install the water meters here just prior to the water going through the hot water heater. Because the one single supply comes into the apartment unit.
Oh, yes, okay.
You got it now?
Yeah.
And it goes into the hot water heater.
Right.
Now, what people don't realize is not just hot water comes out of the hot water heater. You've got cold and a hot that comes out of there. But in that particular design of those units, that was the best place to put that meter, just prior to it entering into the hot water, because that's where water consumption is measured best.
Gotcha, I understand.
You good? Okay. That's typically how they're built as well. I always, by the way, when I'm looking at apartment units on the inside, I will open that hot water closet. Sometimes they have the little ones in there, and I'll look for that pipe. And I'll say, is there enough room to put a black box about, the size of a piece of toast on that copper pipe? And that's what's going to be used to transmit the signal to a computer on site, and that's how you can, consumption is measured.
We've got a fourplex, but it's got a community hot water tank.
Uh-huh.
So we can't do it.
Well, don't say that. You can probably do it. If you've got a community hot water tank, from that hot water tank, that water goes from there to the individual units.
Well, it comes out on 2 mains, and then it goes up somewhere in the building.
And it comes into the unit in one spot?
Well, I guess so.
I guess so. Yes.
Yes, it would.
Yes, it would.
But who knows where that is?
Well, you need to find that. And that's where you need to put the water meter. Perhaps, call them, have them
Yeah.
come out. They'll assess it for you
Okay.
for free. Do they charge for that, Heather? Do they charge if they come out to assess if they can put a water meter? No. They don't. I think it's free. It's absolutely free. I don't know why everyone's not doing that, okay?
We do the initial check first to make sure it's even remotely possible.
Yeah.
Before I said no.
One of the things that we did was, we have a building that I actually took my phone, I'm on the phone with them, I took my phone, FaceTime, and I walked through the basement. I'm showing them and they were able to initially assess, but they'll come out for free, okay? Another question on anything we've talked about over these 5 days. Yoshi, are you making progress, bud?
It says you're online, but you're not. So, no.
Okay, if I'm not, don't worry about it. I'll explain it. What
John,
it
this is a little off topic. What is the difference between subject to and master lease? I do see some similarities.
Okay, so his question is, what is the difference between subject to and master lease? Master lease is where you're leasing the 20 units and you're subleasing each unit to a tenant, and you want to work off that spread that we just talked about up there, the $700, right? Taking a property subject to is where you're taking the property subject to the mortgage that's already in place, and you're actually taking ownership of the property at that time. In a master lease situation, you're taking ownership in the future. But a subject to property, you're taking the property subject to the mortgage that's currently in place, you're abiding by those terms, but yet you're taking ownership usually by way of quitclaim deed, and you're probably going to want to put that property in something called a trust. Here in the States, trusts last a lot longer than they do in Canada, but there's a specific reason why I want you to put that, don't worry about it, I'll work around it.
You can use one of ours.
It just might be that the hotel page timed out, so if you go on a browser page and go to a new page, it'll ask you to prompt you for the login again.
So you may, that's the difference, but the reason you're putting it into a trust is because most mortgages have something that's called a due on sale clause, meaning if you change ownership, the bank could call that note fairly quickly, with one exception of a law that we found as a loophole that's used. In 1982, our Congress enacted the Garn-St. Germain Act. And that means that consumers that have residential or real estate loans are able to put their properties in trusts, transfer ownership, without banks calling a due on sale clause. So I would recommend if you take a property subject to and you put it into a new entity, you could create a trust for that. and you avoid any kind of due on sale type of activity. So that's the difference. Did I answer that? Okay. Yeah, let's go to the back here. Did I get you already? No, I didn't? Okay, let's go. I'm just kidding.
Master lease. When you are the primary lessee or whatever, and you leased out to the others, and you decided that tomorrow you want to walk away, do you evict all those people?
You want to walk away?
Like you didn't want to buy this property, and you thought that it doesn't work out as you imagined it to be.
Yeah. Maybe there's language in your lease, your master lease, that allows you to get out, and there should be.
And leave the tenants.
And you
whom
just leave the
hired.
tenants, and those are the responsibility of the owner. You should have language like that, sure. What would it sound like? Well, I'm not an attorney, Valerie, but that's my disclaimer. But I would sit down with my attorney locally and say, I want to create a lease option agreement, but I may want to get out of this agreement. So please come up with some language that would allow me to do that. That's my first recommendation. The second one would be something like this. The person I that's doing the master lease option has the right to get out of this agreement upon 30-day notice to the owner of the property. Something like along those lines. Something simple. The owner may come back and say, well, I'd like you to give me 60 days, or I'd like you to, if you get out of the property with early termination, I get to keep your $5,000 security deposit, something like that. Cool? Okay. So we got some questions back here. I appreciate everybody staying late. This is great. Actually, it's not late, but you don't have an early flight. Who's got a question back here?
John, do you want my computer?
I'm good. They'll figure it out up there. Are you online? Hey, Yosh, Heather's computer. She can bring that up. She's online right now.
Oh, okay.
Why don't you do that, hon? Oh, you got it? Okay. But that's a PC. That probably won't work. Go ahead, real quick.
My question's back to the St. Germain Act. First of all, cost of a trust. Is it, I mean, I'll have to look into it, but is it reasonable? Like in Canada, it would be quite expensive. You want $1 million property probably to make it worthwhile.
A trust will cost you a few $100 here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Second question is how, I know you're not a lawyer, interested in how you would word subject to clause in the state of Illinois, or on your
A
contracts.
subject to is not a clause, it's a contract.
Okay.
It's an addendum to your sales contract.
Okay.
And so you're actually buying the property, you're closing on it, you're going to have a closing at a title company, but you're going to have an addendum or a rider to
Okay.
that sales contract that's going to be a subject to addendum, and that subject to addendum is going to explain all the parameters of how you're taking that loan,
Okay.
or that loan subject to.
Okay.
Cool?
Yeah.
I think Dale's got a question in the back there. You want to walk that back there, Dallas? Thank you. Appreciate it.
Why are you letting him bully you?
You'd mentioned before in getting the building improvement on the land that you'd have to check with your CPA or whatever. On the property tax assessment that comes every year, do they separate out land and improvements as a separate line item in the
They
United
do.
States?
Yeah. When you get your taxes assessed, they do separate it out, although you're probably going to pay taxes on both. Yes. Yep. Because you pay taxes on raw land and you pay taxes on the improvement on that raw land. Absolutely.
But you wouldn't need your CPA necessarily. You could go on the county website, find the information when you're doing your initial calculation.
Pretty close. Yep. You got one more question?
One more question
Okay.
from when I missed yesterday. But
Okay.
when you're doing like parcel divisions or for the tax identity, I just kind of caught some of it. Are you, when you're looking at properties, are you looking for specific roof lines that look like they might have a firewall in between them?
Did anybody hear that question? And what's your answer?
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely you do. Absolutely.
And in your, like, do you see 8-unit buildings that potentially divided into 4 units then, or is it more fourplex, duplex?
You guys hearing this question? What did you think? Yes. You weren't here at all for that? It's
No.
kind of like saying, yeah, when you breathe in air, is there oxygen with that air? Yeah, that's
Okay.
exactly what you do. You're looking at roof lines, and you're looking at an 8-unit building and how you would divide that into a 4-unit building.
Okay. What about sewer? Do you,
What about sewer, man?
in home, to do that, you basically need separate sewer systems for every single unit, say on a duplex. So is that any,
We don't have that issue here.
Okay.
Our sewers are good.
okay? That's good, thank you.
You're welcome. Did you enjoy the 5 days?
The 3 days, which
you were
was,
only here for 3,
yeah,
right?
maybe 2.5 for me, sorry.
Okay. Did you enjoy the 2.5?
Yes, I did.
Right on. Okay. Can I have the mic back, please?
Maybe.
Thank you, Sarah. Dallas, so aggressive. Gosh. Yes. Oh, yeah. I think that's your phone.
Okay, a couple of things. I take it these water meters are wireless?
Water meters are wireless. There's Motorola makes a technology. Dallas, do you wander around at home like this? Motorola makes a technology that they have these wireless water meters that apply to the copper pipe, and that technology measures consumption through that pipe, and it radio transmits to a computer nearby, usually in a property management office or something like that, the water consumption, and that's what typically gets billed.
Okay, and in all the ones that you've installed, have you ever had people coming back with health concerns?
Never have any health concerns, no.
Because that's a big one in Vancouver
You mean
right now.
because of the
with
stress,
wireless-
because of the wireless water meters?
wireless transmissions.
Really?
Oh yeah, big issues out there right now. Not substantial, not
Because
proven.
of water meters?
Hydrometers.
Hydrometers.
Same thing, so.
Would
the
that
other
be
thing
water
is-
meters? Hydrometers?
Sorry, electric.
Oh,
Most of our
electric meters. Got
hydros,
it.
most of our electric is hydro. Sorry.
Got it.
But it's about the wireless.
Okay.
The
Yeah. No, most of my tenants, they've developed 3 or 4 lumps on their head, but I just figured that was that's their style. But I haven't seen a problem other than that, you know what I mean?
So most units probably also have their own shutoffs, right?
Most units definitely have a shutoff.
So there's a good place to
absolutely.
put it right there.
Yep, absolutely, without a doubt. And they'll come in and assess that for you. But yeah, other than I thought that was personal style, developing the lumps on the there. You know what I mean? So I'm just kidding with that. I'm kidding with that. Yes.
So on the water meters, is it billed from your company that bills the tenants, or is it done?
It depends what state. His question is the water meters billed from your company? It depends what state that you're in, because some states, whenever you bill any type of utility, you're considered a utility company, and you need to be licensed to do that, and it's a big regulation and things like that. So again, it would depend what state. Usually, if you're using a water submetering company, they will bill that for you. They've already gone through all the regulation. They can bill for you, so that's not an issue. Okay? Let me cover one last thing here. And this is a PC, so we may be challenged a little bit. You already logged in. Look at you. All right, so what we want to do here is go to commercial property research. I'm going to hit this tab, and then I'm going to go under Access Research Reports. And I use this site, and I'm going to go to this tab here. Can you guys see that? How about I want to do this? Where's your view at? Here, we'll go View, and then we'll go Zoom. We'll go Zoom in. Okay. I'll make it one more bigger there for Valerie, because I know she's writing this stuff down, Valerie. So I'm going to go to the local apartment report here, and I'm going to hit that. And then all of these cities will pull up. There's quite a few, and these change. And this is just one site, by the way. I'm just going to read the report for Chicago, just so that you get a flavor of what this is about. This is typically updated every quarter. Okay, and I'm going to maximize this. Okay, so let me read this just here for you in a second. Vacancy plummets as economy gains momentum. Recently employed residents are forming new rental households in the Chicago metro, generating positive net absorption, a decline in vacancy, and a rise in rents across the market during the first quarter. Additional payroll growth will stimulate new demand and reduce market-wide vacancy to its lowest annual level in 5 years. In 2012 to about 4% in the city and the suburbs alike. 4%. So occupancy in the Chicagoland area is about 96%. So if I'm looking at deals and I'm seeing a deal that's 88% occupied, I'm doing the math. If I just fill the rest of those vacancies to what market occupancy is at 96%, you see that there's going to be an NOI difference. Do you see that? Okay. Over the longer term, the market's stature as a primary destination for college graduates should sustain a vacancy rate in the 4% range, though the delivery of new rentals may more significantly offset demand growth in the quarters ahead. In fact, the potential influx of college graduates, many of whom will occupy rentals and remain there for the extended periods as they pay off student loans, has drawn the notice of developers. While the pipeline of planned projects in the suburbs is also expanding, the greatest potential effects of supply growth will register in the city, where completions will rise in 2012 and additional projects wait to proceed. Investors continue to respond positively to current conditions of lower vacancy and improving cash flows, striking deals to position portfolios to take full advantage of the recovery. A significant increase in institutional activity has occurred in the city over the past several months, compressing cap rates for large, best-in-class assets to the mid 5% range, 5.5% cap rate for the Class A stuff. Many owners of vintage Class B, older buildings, vintage stuff, vintage, I love that word. It almost reminds me of a wine or a cheese. City properties, meanwhile, are also generating considerable interest from small private investors when these assets are listed for sale. Probably a lot of you. Class B properties in Lincoln Park, the strongest of the city's submarkets, typically trade at cap rates varying from the high 5% to the low 6% range. Cap rates start to gradually rise north of Lincoln Park depending on asset age and proximity to public transportation and residential services. Outside the city, Class B properties in near-in locations or adjacent to employment nodes generally trade from 7% to 8%. They're telling you the price of the income streams that you're buying. Overall, access to acquisition financing has broadened and will continue to sustain a healthy flow of deals this year. Now, if you look at these 4 boxes, and I'll just leave it at that. It goes on, they do other research. But if you look at these 4 boxes, they'll show you employment, competition, in this case construction, vacancies, and rents. In a perfect world, I want employment to go up, I want construction to go down, I want vacancies to go down, and I want rents to go up. On average here in the Chicagoland market, we're asking 4%. I don't feel like that number is going to stay there very long due to our 96% occupancy rate. Expect that number this time next year to be closer to 6, if not higher. Vacancies. The vacancy rate in the metro will decline 50 basis points. I just wanted to explain that. A basis point is this. If you take 1% and chop it up into 100 pieces, each one of those pieces is a basis point. Does that make sense? So 50 basis points is what? 0.5%. Okay? Any question? Isn't this cool that people do the research for you for free? Right? So any major metro, you will have the opportunity to go out and learn about it, understand it. Employment, construction, occupancy, rents, cap rate, sales trends, all of that stuff.
That particular report there, that's, like he said he was logged in, is this a paid for service?
Oh, all of this report here, this is all free for us, but you've got to pay. Yeah, Scott, this is going to cost you some money.
That's good, because I need something to measure my return on it.
Right.
I'm not putting any money.
Right. No, this is absolutely free. They require you to give you your email address and a 4-digit password, and then it's free. Okay? Sam.
Going back to the master lease option. Okay. Going back to the master lease option, which criteria would sway you either to the master lease versus buy?
Well, I think, you mean us as a subject too?
Yes.
I think the master lease option is a great way to segue yourself into multifamily real estate. You don't own the property, but you control it. A lot of times when you control the property, it makes a lot of, guys have a good and safe travel home. It makes a lot of sense to control it but not own it yet. Maybe it's something where you're just learning about the market there. Maybe it's something where you just stumbled across this opportunity and you don't have all your funds together yet. Or maybe you don't have all of your financing sources yet, but you will in 3 years. That's when I would do the master lease option. Okay?
Thank you.
Oh, man. I'm betting Scott has a question. And I'm not giving you the mic anymore, man. You got a question?
Yeah. Where is the best source to find these commercial deals? Like we have.
What I would do, the best source to find commercial deals would be this. I would first pick a market. And I would make sure, once that market is picked, I think we have a question. Or maybe a statement. Yes, Valerie.
Statement on my behalf to defend.
To defend? Oh, I thought you were going to shake my hand. Okay.
I have gone through LoopNet across the nation, and I put it into Excel and done all those formulas that you showed us today so that I can look at each of the different markets and get to be aware of each of the markets and looking for seller financing. So when I'm ready, I can go in.
Oh, take your time. Yeah. No problem. Once you pick your market, when you're ready, I want you to then say, okay, I'm going to find sources of commercial properties from commercial real estate agents, places like LoopNet, places like this. By the way, this side of Marcus and Millichap, they also have another side in which they have properties that they list here in Chicago. I want you to talk to real estate or banks, small regional local banks for opportunities, other investors, real estate investment clubs. There's a number of different sources in which you can find opportunity with these. So the best one, I feel, is to align yourself with a good agent, somebody that's hustling, somebody that knows the market, somebody that knows how investors act and what they're looking for. Miller and Budweiser. That's what that was. And Coors Light. Keeping score. It's Miller and Budweiser. Marcus, Millichap.com. M-A-R. No. There should be, shouldn't there? Marcus, M-A-R-C-U-S, Millichap, M-I-L-L-I-C-H-A-P.com. Right here. Okay. Did you guys enjoy the 5 days? Yeah? Okay. Thank you. And Paula, just so we know, Steve's done, right? He's not coming in? Okay. I just, just from my point of view, I just wanted to say that, it's very important to Steve and I and everybody else here that your success is obviously vital. And I think for a lot of you, it's just taking the aspect of how do you eat an elephant. I know this is overwhelming for a lot of you. I know that this is a serious thing because you're trying to replace income. You're trying to get involved in the real estate game. And I know that's a difficult thing. But please, please, please stay with it. Make sure you're dealing with your coaches. Make sure you're communicating with your coaches. If you're not setting up calls with them, they can't help you. If you're not asking them questions via email, they can't help you. So please make sure that you stay in contact with them. Please make sure you let Steve know how you're doing. Let Bronwyn, Paula, Heather, everybody else that's part of that organization, let them know how they can help you. I'm telling you, they live 24/7 to help. Really, that's totally true. So if you have any issues at all, there's no excuse that we can't get that handled for you, okay? Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it, and we'll see you at the next event. Thank you. Good night, Chicago.